Hello everyone, welcome again to Pluralsight Spotlight. I'm your host for this episode, Adam Gunn. If you're new to this series, welcome. Let me set the table for what you're going to learn today. Our Spotlight series is a chance to meet some of the incredible people that differentiate the Pluralsight platform. Our brand is built on the back of incredible courses and a great platform, and we're really excited about the people who bring the best of themselves to everything we build. My guest today is a principal program manager with Microsoft, and he's focused on improving the cloud. He's a Pluralsight author, an author of 8 technical books, and a former 10-time Microsoft MVP. He has presented about every tech conference you can name, including Ignite, DevOps Days, and many more. When he's not working on his courses or blog, he loves spending time with his family and pursuing athletic endeavors, including martial arts, which is totally cool. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Steve Buchanan. Steve, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thanks, Adam. Happy to be here.
Well, I love to start these interviews with a walk down memory lane for you a little bit. I hear you have a really interesting backstory on how you got into tech.
Yeah. So I essentially stumbled into tech. Early on in my last year of high school, I landed a job at a small computer company as a PC tech. And that really got me interested in tech, and I decided to pursue it from an educational standpoint and just from a career standpoint.
Did you go and then pursue that in college? Did you go get a degree in computer science?
Yeah, so I got a degree. It wasn't in computer science. It was a bachelor's degree in information technology. And so the degree was sort of newer at the time. It was more focused on the management of, information systems and like IT as a whole, because I didn't want to go down the coding path. Looking back, I should have dove more into coding, but at the time I was like very interested in like the administrative side of tech and like running tech for companies, like IT manager, IT director, that sort of track.
Okay. And we mentioned in your bio that, Microsoft is your current employer, but my guess is there was that first exciting thing. What are you most proud of that kind of led you to where you are today?
One of my favorite roles was being an IT manager and really taking an IT department from almost being in shambles to like being a well-oiled machine. And it was internal and external IT that I had to like whip into shape. And with the external IT, it was like customer facing. And so it was a lot of critical workloads and just critical technologies there. And then the internal IT was critical too, because different departments were dependent on what we were doing. And when I inherited the environment, there were outages like constantly, right? So me and my team, we'd get the page in the middle of the night and something's down and you got to go fix it. Or I remember one time on the 4th of July having to go into the office and leave a barbecue that I was at, right, to go fix something that was down. And so we kind of went from that type of environment to, you'd schedule outages, which is how it should be, right? And like hardly ever having to go in. And so it was really just good experience. And the leadership that I was reporting to gave me the autonomy and the freedom to kind of do what I needed to do to clean up the environment.
That's awesome. As I was driving in, I was thinking, what can I ask Steve? And, because a lot of people aspire to work for great companies like Microsoft. And I was wondering, like, if you could give advice to, your former self back when you had stumbled into that first job in tech. Like, is there any skill set or learning or advice you would give young Steve Buchanan?
Some of the advice would be like, don't shy away from coding. Like, continue on the path that you're on of, that administrative path, because it was super interesting to me at the time. And it still is, right? Like infrastructure, but bake in as much coding as you can. And that would have led me more towards automation, and it would have led me there faster. And like, that's where we are today, right? And that's where the cloud is. And that's a key component of cloud and just how enterprise companies run their environments, right? When you talk about scale, And also at Microsoft, there's like a ton of automation and coding. And so I would have told my younger self, like, do what you're doing, but take the time and basically learn how to become a developer or close to a developer.
That's awesome. And I could be making assumptions here, but as I look at your course catalog on Pluralsight, it seems to reflect that a little bit. Like, not all authors on Pluralsight have quite as diverse of a repertoire or course catalog as I see under you. Like, is that true? Like, is that kind of a reflection of your skill set and current interests?
Yeah, it is actually. And you hit the nail on the head, both skill set and interest, right? So throughout my career, I've mostly had roles where I was working with Microsoft technologies, but I've always baked in open source. And so it's exciting to see the use of open source, and especially at Microsoft. But throughout my career, I've mostly focused on infrastructure, but I've had to do like coding through scripting and do some of that automation. And so that's where those development skills come into play. And I've always done like web development stuff too. Even when I was learning and early on in technology, I was doing stuff with HTML and CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. And so I've kept those skills up over the years. And then I've had to dive into like PHP through my work with WordPress and Drupal and Joomla and some of those things. And so I've always had those development skills, just not a full-blown like developer where my day-to-day job is coding for 8 to 10 hours or what have you, right?
And do you learn or apply some of that through projects outside of your regular 9 to 5?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm always doing stuff outside of my 9 to 5, whether it's like a personal pet project, like I want to learn something.
Yeah.
Like I'm super excited to dive into some new technology. And sometimes, especially in the past, like during the last financial downturn, I took on a contract right after I received a 30% pay cut. And actually, I picked up a Drupal contract. So I started managing a Drupal environment for this marketing company. And so I was doing the infrastructure aspect of it, but I had to dive into the development aspect of it as well when they needed customizations to Drupal, which was all PHP. And then it was all running on Linux, so it was very Linux heavy as well. And so that was like a project or a contract that I had to pick up outside of my regular day job. So my journey's always kind of been like that. And then my journey into Kubernetes was like, hey, I know this is a hot thing. I'm going to go do some like in-depth training on this Kubernetes and DevOps stuff. And then I started doing projects on my own, and it eventually worked its way into my day-to-day job, which was really cool to see.
That's awesome. And then how did you find your way to authoring courses on Pluralsight?
So there's a funny story there. I was talking with acquisition editor for like 3 years, and I was hesitant about doing the whole like authoring thing because I'd never done that before, right? And I was like, I don't know how people would perceive me, if my courses would be good, or and I don't know about like doing the whole recording thing. So I was going back and forth for 3 years, and then finally another company, a guy that owned that company, convinced me to do a course on Azure Stack when Azure Stack was like brand new, because there wasn't a lot of people that knew it. And it went really well. Like I developed the whole course. I then recorded the whole course, and I'm like, this wasn't so bad. I'm going to go back to Pluralsight and re-engage and get involved as an author. And so, I'm like 19 courses in.
That's awesome.
And I'm enjoying it.
Do you have a particular course you're most proud of, or you'd share with the audience of like, if you're going to go start on a Steve Buchanan journey on Pluralsight, start here?
One of my favorite courses is the GitOps Big Picture.
Okay.
It's a super interesting topic, something I'm passionate about. It involves Kubernetes and like DevOps, and it's a mix of just all of that stuff. It was really fun to make that course. And A lot of people seem to watch it and seem to like it. And I'd highly recommend go check that one out, especially if you're getting started with GitOps. And it's a up and coming like model for working with Kubernetes and your deployments.
We've talked with a number of authors on the Spotlight series, and those foundational courses are so critical. But I know as authors, you guys really stress about the condensing of the content and making it as applicable as possible in as little, time as possible. Was that the stressor for you? Did you find that journey invigorating, exciting?
That's one of the stressors, and the other stressor is like we want to make sure that we produce high quality content, and we want to make sure that whoever's watching it, the learners, are really going to get a lot of value out of it. And also, like, it's on the Pluralsight platform, but our brand, like our personal brands, are also attached to it. So we want to make sure we do a good job and that whatever we put out there is just really high quality. So that always comes into play too, and I'd say that's probably the number one stressor. Like, am I putting good content in here? Is it high quality? Is all of the information right? Is it easy to understand for someone that's watching this? Because I can talk about really complex topics like Kubernetes. It's complex, especially for someone new. But can I explain it and break it down in a more simple way so someone can pick it up and really take that from my course and go apply it?
I want to circle back, like maybe I'm inferring a little bit, but like as an author, you feel imposter syndrome. Like you were mentioning, writing that first course was a barrier that you had to break through. And I think that's very typical in any professional role, but I know a lot of developers and engineers, especially when they enter, leadership roles, like that is a burden, that they bear. I'd love your perspective on, imposter syndrome and how you've dealt with it through your career.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is definitely a real thing, and I've felt that in many areas, in various roles and various things that I've done. So I'm currently in an individual contributor role, and I work with some of the smartest people on earth. People that come from all kinds of backgrounds in like Ivy League schools and different things. And so it can be intimidating at times. But just realizing like those folks bring value to the table. I bring a lot of value to the table as well. And we come from different backgrounds. And that's why Microsoft brought the teams together that are together so we can make really good products for everyone on the planet. I've also been in leadership roles. I've had roles where I've had to like lead a region. I've had to lead teams. And yeah, you can feel imposter syndrome there too. And, when you're responsible for people in their careers, like I take that very seriously and want to be a good leader. And also, writing books, like even when I first started blogging, part of my hesitation was like, if I write a blog on this technology, is the community going to eat my post alive, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to like pick it apart and say this is wrong, that's wrong? And I had to get over that and just put it out there. And what I found is those tech communities were very welcoming. And yeah, I received some feedback on some of my blog posts in the past. And you just take it and fix whatever might be wrong or improve it, or just, say thankful or say thank you and be thankful for the feedback. And same thing with writing books. You set out to write a book and you're like, man, I really hope that, this is high quality. This is what the folks that are going to buy this book really want. I hope they get something out of it. And the same thing with the courses. You build something and you put it out there. You could definitely feel like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's such a hard thing. You got to ship, you got to push, you got to do it, and you learn so much. If you don't do it, the net sum is zero. So I'm a big believer in that philosophically.
Also, like we all have something to learn from each other is what I believe. So if you've been in tech for 2 years, you could probably teach me some stuff.
Love that.
So I keep that open mindset whenever I'm meeting folks. Even so, I mentor some folks too, and I learn from them. They're learning from me, but I'm also learning from them. And so I believe we all have things that we can teach each other regardless of how long you've been doing something or how short of a time you've been doing something.
Yeah, let's dive into learning quickly. We just did our state of upskilling report, and maybe this comes as no surprise, but at least it was validated in the report that both leaders and learners within organizations state that finding time, making time to learn is one of their biggest challenges. Does that surprise you? And do you have any advice to leaders who are struggling to prioritize learning within their organizations?
Doesn't surprise me at all because time is the most valuable thing we have, right? And so, and there's so many things in this day and age that are asking for our time. And so for me, like, I try to focus on things that I'm passionate about, and then I find it easier to make time for that. And so for leaders in organizations, I think it's really important to understand your people and understand where their interests are. And I'm not saying like if someone's, if their thing is like, I don't know, riding mountain bikes or something, you know, that doesn't apply to your business. But I'm sure there's something technology-wise that they're interested in. Like maybe someone is interested in like JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
Learning that. Maybe they want to make a transition from just being an infrastructure person to that other side of the world or vice versa. Find that out. Talk to your people. Understand where they want to go and help people upskill. Once you find out what they're interested in and they're passionate about it, they will go above and beyond to kind of learn that and make the time. And so, you know, platforms like Pluralsight or blogs or books, you know, those people will make the time to go watch those courses, read that book because they're passionate about that area.
Can you align those personal skill development interests with organizational outcomes, or is there a chasm there?
Yeah, definitely you can. But again, you have to know or learn and understand your people and where their passions are, right, on different teams.
It's almost like reverse engineer it. Like once you understand the Legos that you have, you can build to those outcomes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. So let's take like Kubernetes, one of my favorite topics, right? For example, there's so many moving parts to Kubernetes, right? There's the learning Kubernetes itself, and then there's the automation aspect, right? So maybe we need to deploy hundreds of Kubernetes clusters. We need to update these. We need to maintain, et cetera. Well, you could use something like Terraform for that, or you could use something like Crossplane. Find out within your organization, among your team, among your people, like, are there people that are still working on like legacy technologies, right? Maybe they're working with servers, but maybe you have some people that are super interested in like learning about containers, learning about more automation. Maybe they want to develop those coding skills. Well, you might have a goal to implement this technology to deploy some sort of microservice or something that you know is going to grow your business and bring in more revenue. You need people to manage and work with that technology. You know, you could look outside for people that have those Kubernetes skills, and that's fine, but also look internally. Maybe you have some folks that you can upskill, right? And if you find those folks that have interest in those areas and are passionate, they're really going to go that extra mile, and you might be surprised. And you could save money too on all the recruiting costs and, you know, upskilling internal people.
Yeah, that's a great observation. Like I was like, man, do organizations even know? Like the first instinct is always like, go hire.
Right.
And if you don't even know, that's a scary proposition. Like you might have the talent and you don't even know as a leader. Like that's a scary proposition.
And you can develop the talent, right? What you can't develop and you can't, well, sometimes you can bring out of people, but is that passion. So if you find someone like, maybe you have someone that has 3 years of IT experience, but they've been researching and they really are excited about this DevOps thing. If you know your people and you know the folks that are excited about that, give them the opportunity to like upskill, give them those challenging projects, right? Maybe start with some small tasks, small projects, see how they do, but give them that challenge. Allow them the time to stretch and the opportunity, and you'll be surprised.
I love that. Well, with you in this seat, like I have to ask a few questions about the cloud. Like prognosticate a little bit, like next 2-3 years, like what certifications should people prioritize? What technologies? My guess is Kubernetes is going to be in there, but beyond Kubernetes, is there anything advice you'd give on what to prioritize right now?
Chat GPT.
Okay.
I'm sort of kidding there. I had to throw that out because it's the hype right now, right?
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like AI, so there's the using AI aspect, and then there's also the folks on the back end that are developing the AI, machine learning, coding. Like AI is not at a point yet where it's developing itself. Maybe we'll get there. But as of right now, humans are still needed to develop these AI technologies. Also, think of AI from a creative standpoint. Like, what are the ways that we can leverage AI? Like, AI is still relatively young in the space, and there's things that are going to come in the future that haven't been thought of yet, right? So you could be the person that thinks of a new creative way to leverage AI within your organization to improve processes, maybe create a new revenue stream for the business, or just do something that's innovative, right? So I think AI is huge, and that ties into cloud because with the power of cloud behind AI, you can leverage the resources that are in cloud. AI takes a lot of resources. And then Kubernetes, so I think what's going to happen with Kubernetes is it's just going to sort of fade away. And what I mean by that is it's not going to go away, but it becomes a part of the fabric of everything, right? So a lot of services in the cloud run on Kubernetes, and a lot more are being built on Kubernetes. Applications inside of organizations, whether they're in-house or maybe a vendor like an ISV creates an application, they're containerizing those applications. They're building them on microservices. They're building them to run on Kubernetes. And so Kubernetes is sort of becoming part of the fabric. It's just there. And all the major cloud vendors, including Microsoft, right, with Azure, we're making Kubernetes easier.
Yeah. And
so there's this term that's been thrown around recently of serverless Kubernetes, which, I'm not sure about that term yet, but it really means that you don't have to manage any of the servers, any of the nodes that power Kubernetes. You just go to a cloud provider and you sign up for that container service, and then you put your workloads up there and just run them, right? And so I think we're going to see more and more of that, where things will run on Kubernetes, but you might not even know, right? If you're a developer, or maybe you're a power business user and you're doing a low code, no code type application, you go deploy that thing, or you're running that thing, that workload, and it's probably going to be powered by Kubernetes.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do anything with Kubernetes or really even understand Kubernetes.
Yeah. And I would assume in that prognostication, you're a supporter and believe multi-cloud, hybrid cloud is the future?
It's not just the future, it's now.
Okay.
So before joining Microsoft, I was with Avanade and Accenture. I was working in Fortune 500 companies, and like almost every organization that I was working in, they had more than one cloud. I was in there working on Azure and helping them with Azure and AKS, but they pretty much had AWS already.
Yeah.
At least some parts of the business had AWS. A lot of organizations were exploring GCP. And so it's definitely a multi-cloud world, and it's definitely a hybrid cloud world. I was involved in a lot of Azure migration projects, and on almost every project, there were some workloads that had to be left behind. So they had to be left on premises or maybe in a colo. And there's just certain workloads that businesses just struggled to like move up to the cloud.
Yeah.
So there was always that hybrid cloud component, even if it wasn't by choice.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I could talk all day. This has been a fascinating conversation. If you're cool, I'd love to just ask a few random fun questions at the end here.
Fire away.
These always surprise people, but we learn a lot. If you could switch legs with any animal, which would it be?
I'd say a cheetah.
Okay.
So I could run super fast.
Yes.
And then I'd probably get out of tech and go into the Olympics or something.
Yeah. Weirdest thing you've ever had to do?
We were talking about this earlier, but like bug bomb one of my cars.
Okay. Bug bomb a car.
It was infested with spiders, and
Okay.
that was like the last straw.
You might have to write a blog post on that.
Yeah,
on that one.
they had to go.
Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni. Kind of boring, but
It's still, if I had a bingo card, we still haven't had any duplicates on that question. It's fascinating. Are you pro pineapple on a pizza or anti pineapple on a pizza?
I will eat pineapples on pizza.
Okay.
I've done it before, and it tastes pretty good.
Anything unique you're reading right now?
I'm reading a book called The Man Who Talks with Flowers.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Okay. Is that fiction, nonfiction?
It's actually nonfiction. Okay. So it's about a man, is African American, who he saved agriculture in the South.
Okay.
In the 1900s. Everyone was like fascinated, like how did he do that? How did he switch from like cotton to sweet potatoes and I think it was peanuts or something.
Wow, yeah.
And so there were all these experts that went to talk with him and stuff and interview him, and he was invited to like the White House back then and stuff because folks were fascinated, like how did you do this? And his thing was he talked with God.
Wow.
Like daily. And it's just fascinating, this guy's story. His name was George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
And so super interesting.
Okay, fascinating. Our next series might be Book Club with Steve Buchanan. We might start that podcast. We got to dive more into that. Well, Steve, we're out of time. It's been a fabulous 30 minutes to spend with you. Really appreciate you stopping by the set today, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks. And to our audience, if there's any links Steve shared, we'll share a link to the book in the show notes. Check out Steve's courses on pluralsight.com. And we really appreciate you joining us today and look forward to you joining us in the future on Pluralsight Spotlight. Thanks, everyone.